find ourselves in the most beautiful spot today, in the centre of Bridgetown, Barbados. We're in Heroes Square, and many heroes of Barbados are celebrated here, including, of course, great cricketers like Sir Garfield Sobers, Sir Frank Worrell, and the founding fathers of this great nation, Grantley Adams, after whom the airport is named. And of course, Errol Barrow. As I look around me, I see some old colonial architecture. It's absolutely beautiful. Some crenellated buildings to my right, a gorgeous river, the harbour, and the silken Caribbean Sea away to my left. And I'm delighted to say that joining me in this picture-perfect paradise is World Cup winner Alex Hartley and American cricket expert and our friend of Test Match Special who's been with us throughout this tournament, Peter Della Penna. Welcome aboard, Alex.
Good morning. What a spot this is. What a spot to do a podcast. Life doesn't get much better, does it?
Peter, you agree?
It's hard to disagree. I mean, beautiful sunshine, beautiful beaches here, and beautiful people I'm standing next to.
You are, and your phone was a little bit awkward this morning, but you've made it here. You've made it here on time, as have, hordes of people, because it's market day. It's Saturday here in Bridgetown, and we're here to really look ahead and look back a touch at England, because they play an enormous game tomorrow. England against the USA here in Bridgetown, Barbados. They had another stutter yesterday when they lost to South Africa. Alex Hartley, they had that game lost, then they had the game won, and then they lost it again. It was a wonderful roller coaster of emotions for England.
It was, and it feels it's a little bit like that watching England at the minute, doesn't it? Where, you know, Harry Brook and Liam Livingstone were absolutely outstanding. I think Harry Brook accelerated at the right time, assisted by Liam Livingstone, and just when you thought they were going to get over the line, South Africa were absolutely outstanding at the death. It was actually my man Bartman that had a woeful over to get England back into the game, and then the experience of the South Africa seamers brought them back in at the death.
Yeah, if people don't know, Alex Hartley developed something of a kind of cricket crush on Neil Bartman. The first time she saw him, he basically bowled about 21 dot balls. I mean, I'm slightly exaggerating. About 19 dot balls out of his first 24. Picked up wickets. He looked impossible to get away on the tricky pitches of New York, but yesterday he got an absolute shellacking. Didn't bowl at the back end of the innings, and instead it was down to Rabada Jansen really to put the brakes on when it looked like England had that game won. But it has made this group really exciting, Peter. Did you get a chance to watch the game? Any thoughts on that? You were probably actually in the air when it was taking place.
I was in the air, but what stood out for me is the fact that a lot of people, partially myself included, gave USA some flack for how they fell short at the death against South Africa, especially against Rabada. He bowled that over against USA where he got Harmeet Singh out first ball, caught on the boundary, and then conceded just 2 singles the rest of the way when USA needed 28 off 12. And now USA fans can console themselves that it's not just USA he does that against, he can do it against England too, and it just shows his class.
From an England point of view, as the bells go off, and unusually in Barbados, normally things happen slightly later than you expect, but I'm looking at the clock and it says 2 minutes to 11, so the bells are keen to get cracking. They're not on Caribbean time. They're on Caribbean time minus 2 minutes. They're on Peter Della Penna time, Alex.
Peter's always late. That would have gone off later if it was Peter time.
Well, it'll probably chime 10 instead of 11.
Yeah, maybe it will.
Back to England, though. Encouraging signs for England in some sense, in that almost everybody in their batting lineup has now scored some runs. I mean, we saw a Livingstone and Brook partnership yesterday. We've seen Bairstow come to the party. We've seen Butler also, and of course Phil Salt. But they've not yet put together the perfect performance. And why do you think that is?
Yeah, look, you've got to peak at the right time, and I think yesterday, or when you get to the Super 8s, you're going to lose to good teams. That happens. England lost to Australia before the Super 8s. That happens. Their game was washed out against Scotland. There's nothing you can do about it. So I think you have to peak at the right time, and England played good cricket yesterday. They couldn't find a way to get over the line, but it was against world-class bowlers, so I can forgive them. And you know, they are there to entertain people, and yesterday to get themselves back into the game when they found themselves 90 for 4 was an unreal effort from England.
One thing that keeps on cropping up in my mind is Mark Wood and his suitability for white ball cricket. He's such a lovely guy. He's a friend of TMS. We love having him on the programme. He's such a relatable, gorgeous fella, and yet what seems to be sort of troubling me is that the best bowlers in this competition have been the ones with variations, the ones who can do a little bit of something. As I can hear What is this out there? This might be a bit of preaching. Let's bring our stuff with us and see if we can work out what's going on. Oh my word! What I see is 3 men in traditional dress with rifles over their shoulders. They're wearing red and gold waistcoats, and it's a little bit like the changing of the guard. That's it, the changing of the guard. I think it might be the changing of the guard, Alex.
I think it might be. I think we're about to witness something that I've never seen before. I've seen it in England, obviously, but never here in Barbados. So this is pretty cool.
Look at the hats. I really like these hats. They're a sort of circular white band, flat orange on the top, fabulous pantaloons, and rather lovely white boots.
Yeah, they look great, don't they? They look fantastic. And we're about to see it all kick off here and the change of the guard happen. And I did wonder why the speaker was out this morning when we pulled up, but this is going to be spectacular.
These guns have bayonets on them. It's all a bit recherche. And now then, there's silence and stillness. It's almost quite a solemn ceremony in actual fact. Anyway, I think we'll allow them to change their guard as they go. We'll return to our original position. I was talking about Mark Wood. Mark Wood. Now, we saw him out in India during the 50 over World Cup. On the occasions he didn't play, Gus Atkinson came in, actually had more success. Wood is a fast bowler, but he's only a fast bowler, it seems to me, which is great in Test cricket. He blew the Ashes wide open at Headingley. But on these kind of pitches, pace on, I look at the bowlers who are most successful. They've got a few more variations. Am I worrying overly?
I think so. I think when you look at Mark Wood and the way he got that new ball to move the other day, he was out and out England's best bowler in the power play. It's just the variations in the middle and at the death. But if England are going to just give him a burst in the power play, and then now they've got more bowlers, more options with Sam Curran coming into the side alongside Reece Topley, Jofra Archer and everybody else. I actually think England have enough options. If he only bowls 2 overs, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but he has to bowl with the new ball and get it moving, which is what he's done in the last couple of games.
And Adil Rashid, it's hard to imagine how England are going to cope without Adil Rashid, Peter Delapenna, because it just continues to deliver time and time again. A lot of people are saying, well, this England team is not on its last legs, but it's ready for the changing of the guard like we've just seen away to our right. But without Adil Rashid, they're missing a really key bowler, and he's performed time and time and time again.
Well, not to sound cliched, but he just shows the value of a leg spinner. You look at some of the teams in this competition that haven't had a leg spinner and how they've struggled at times, and you see what a quality leg spinner can do, and he's done it throughout the tournament. He's done it over the years, and he hopefully will continue to do it for a long time to come for England.
Oh, well, I'm not sure how much longer he will, but time will tell. I want to go to last night's game, the USA taking on the West Indies, and some interesting things have come out of this. At the start of the game, the West Indies loss to England was a severe one. I spoke to a couple of local Bajans. They were really upset, not because their team had lost. They sort of expected to lose to England, but the amount that they lost by put them in a really serious pickle, net run rate wise. But yesterday, the shellacking they gave the United States has totally changed the look of this group. And it was kind of the first time that we saw the US being outclassed, wasn't it, Al?
Yeah, I think the West Indies are a strong team. They're a very good team. I think they had the perfect game yesterday, didn't they? They knew that they had to up their net run rate, and they did that perfectly. Winning inside 11 overs, chasing down 129, I think it was it? Yeah, look, I think the West Indies, they've got themselves back into this group. They've got themselves back into the World Cup. They know they need one more win, a decent win, and they can still get through to the semi-finals. But the USA yesterday, for me, they're always going to be one of those teams when they come up against the world's best, they are going to struggle. And that's just the way it's going to be. It was an amazing story in the fact that they even got through to the Super 8s. Nobody was expecting it. But we've seen some fantastic cricketers come out of the USA team, and I think they got the potential to compete at World Cups in future.
We're going to reflect later on what the USA have done in this tournament, Peter. But what it's done to the group here is effectively last night's loss means that the USA are out. It wasn't because they lost the game, it's because they lost it by so many. So that little quirk of maybe being able to qualify with just the one win is now effectively beyond them. But what that has done is now put the West Indies with the best net run rate. All they need to do, it's a big all, but all they need to do is beat South Africa. What England need to do is beat the USA, and they don't even have to beat them that comfortably, just a bit. And suddenly, South Africa would find themselves out of the tournament having won the first 2 games. I mean, that's kind of preposterous, isn't it?
Well, not just the first 2 games, their first 6 games. They could be out of the tournament with 1 loss after winning 6 in a row, which is quite extraordinary. But West Indies look like the juggernaut of 2012 and 2016. Chris Gayle, Kyron Pollard might be gone, but they've replenished their squad. The performance last night was really ruthless against USA, and again, it wasn't just the fact that they won, but how they won. They just showed no mercy against USA, and USA was probably due for a stinker, and unfortunately for England and South Africa, it came at the wrong time.
Well, for South Africa, certainly. I'm not sure for England it's too much of a problem, but certainly for South Africa it is. For England, they know that all they've got to do really is beat the USA, and they ought to get through to the semi-finals. And yesterday, Matt Henry was talking to Harry Brook after the match against South Africa.
It will be USA next, who have been one of the stories of this World Cup. Have you even had a chance to see them play yet?
I haven't actually. I've watched a few highlights here and there, had a look on an app, and had a look at a few of the bowlers, but we'll do that tomorrow. We'll have our meetings and try and prepare as best as we can for the game.
Is that difficult, coming up against a team you won't have played before? A lot of the bowlers, I don't know how many of the players at all you'd have faced before.
Yeah, obviously never really seen any of them before, but yeah, we just got to go out there, like I said, prepare as well as we can, watch their actions, watch how they go about it, watch the batters, and and like I said, preparation's key.
And if it does come down to net run rate and maybe the rain again on Sunday, which could be a bit of an issue, I don't know if you've checked the forecast, do you feel as a team you can take something from what happened against Namibia in that Scotland game?
Yeah, absolutely. We just got to go out there, like I said before, we got to concentrate on trying to get a win first, bat or bowl well, whichever we do first, and then we'll have a chat and see what the net run rate requires from there for the second half.
3 games to win a World Cup from here, is that the way you're looking at it?
Yeah, absolutely. We've done it before, so why not again?
So we hear there that Harry Brook not too sure about what the USA have got to offer, and Al, you're not surprised about that. You don't reckon that they would have been keeping a close eye on the USA hitherto?
No, I think, look, you've got to concentrate on yourselves in World Cups. And yes, obviously you'll see highlights and things like Harry Brook has said, but actually you're not going to, on a day off, sit down and watch the US play cricket because you're coming up against them. What you'll do is you'll have a team meeting the day before, the morning of the game. It'll probably be the night before because it's an early start. And you'll go through their bowlers, what they do, their strengths and their weaknesses, and more importantly, how Harry Brook will look to attack certain types of bowlers. So there is absolutely no chance that teams, when they're not playing, are sitting down watching games of cricket, because you have to get away from it. You have to switch off. You've got to get on the golf course. You've got to go see your partner on the beach or whatever. You don't want to be sitting down getting too consumed by the World Cup.
I'll tell you where you need to get yourself. You need to get yourself down to Hero Square, where we've seen all manner of shenanigans taking place already. I think we've got a preacher away to our right. We've still got a steady stream of human traffic coming through the market. The market, incidentally, sells hot sauces. I need to tell Fazil Mohammed about this because he has been whining about the blandness of Bajan food. I have to keep this quite quiet because otherwise we get run out of town. But I saw hot sauces. He needs hot sauces. He's struggling with a lack of spiciness. Are you struggling with that, Peter?
My neck and my glands are okay. I'll pass on the spices.
Now then, we were talking there about Harry Brook and not knowing much about the USA. We've seen a lot of the USA. You've seen the most. Alex and I have seen almost every game of the USA. What will England, do you think, have zeroed in on? What are the deficiencies they're going to get at, and what are the dangers that this USA team possess to England's ambitions?
Well, one thing we saw from the West Indies is targeting certain players, and one thing that stood out last night was targeting Saurabh Netravalkar. He's been USA's best player in the tournament. He's their leading wicket taker. Some of the other guys haven't really stepped up, and instead of trying to see him off and take on some of the other bowlers, they went right after him, and Shoaib ended the match against him. And they're without Monak Patel. Their depth has been exposed a bit. Corey Anderson and Stephen Taylor are wounded prey at the moment. They're people you can target because, quite frankly, they haven't performed up to expectations. And I think if they can attack those guys and expose them, it makes life a lot more difficult for somebody like Andries House, who has had a good tournament, and you heap the pressure on him at the non-strikers end, that'll make life even more difficult for USA.
Hey, it's curious, isn't it? I think coming into this tournament, Al, we saw Corey Anderson's name on the team sheet and really expected him to be the beating heart of the side. But actually, it has been House, it's been Netravalkar, it's been Aaron Jones. guys that perhaps we didn't know a great deal about before we came here, and they've really lit us up, haven't they? I mean, it's not just so much the wins that they've got, but the style in which they perform. There was a fearlessness about them last night, which didn't come off, I know, but they came hard at the West Indies.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of having a 20-team tournament, isn't it? You get to see these teams that you wouldn't necessarily have seen before. And as you say, the only person I'd heard of before I started doing my research was Corey Anderson, and that's because he had the fastest T20 century in the world at one time. So I ended up seeing the highlights somewhere. I didn't know what he was doing, where he was in the world. I know he's been enjoying the Texas life at the moment out here in America. But yeah, I think for me the beauty of it is that we've seen some really good cricketers during this World Cup, and the USA they're a team that will compete in future tournaments, and I've been very impressed with them. Yes, they didn't beat the West Indies, yes they didn't beat South Africa just got over the line, but I think they can be really proud of how they're playing their cricket in this World Cup.
We're going to reflect on the whole part that the USA have played in this tournament shortly, but just as I speak, a bridge is now rising before me. It's like a very miniature tower bridge. It's an elevation to allow big ships to come through. You get some pretty big yachts that come through this little river alongside me. The river leads out into the Caribbean Sea. Bridgetown's quite an industrial area as a general rule. You've got rum refineries, and it's the place where all the goods that Barbados makes are shipped out to sea. So it's not, a quaint harbour town. You're not talking about a little horseshoe-shaped bay. It's a working industrial zone. But it also has space for some of these rather lovely-looking sailing vessels that, if we had a bit of time, I wouldn't mind getting on one of those, Alex. Yeah,
that'd be decent. I'm actually off on one on Monday, but
you're always off on one. Turtles, you've got to see the turtles. Swim with the turtles. Glass-bottom boats, all that malarkey. I think you can get them from around here.
Well, you can, but actually the other night we were on the beach and we were just heading up the boardwalk, and we saw 2 turtles actually giving birth, which was amazing to see.
By giving birth, Al means laying eggs.
Yeah, 100 of them.
That's a lot, isn't it? Then they put little markers down, don't they?
Yeah.
The people come along, they're very solicitous of the wildlife here, and they're in the darkness, they see a turtle giving birth, and they shove a flag in the ground.
Well, producer Tim Peach ended up ringing the beach people, I don't know what you call them, the beach rescue turtle people, and saving a turtle who was trying to bury her eggs in not the most appropriate place.
Sort of Baywatch of turtles, if you will. That's one for the kids. Right, turtle hotline, indeed. Now then, we're talking about American cricket, and who better to talk to about American cricket than a man who has seen North American cricket starting as he did, making his debut for Canada as a mere 15-year-old, the youngest man to make an ODI debut. Here's subsequently Jump Chip. He's now playing for the United States, and he's had a pretty good tournament. Nitish Kumar.
The TMS Podcast from BBC Radio 5 Live.
I'm here in the team hotel with Nitish Kumar, who's been one of the stars of this USA side that has really lit up this tournament. Nitish, first of all, can I just ask you, how do you feel about how the tournament has gone for the USA?
Yeah, I think it's gone pretty well. Anytime you beat like a full nation and make it to the Super 8s, it's obviously amazing. I thought we could have done a little bit better in the past 2 games, but it's always tough playing some of those teams, right? They're some of the best teams in the world with some of the best players, but I definitely think we put a good fight in every game that we played. So it's been amazing fun.
Talk to me about that Pakistan game, because it's one that's going to live so long in the memory. It goes to a super over when it looked like the USA were down and out. Then actually quite a brilliant super over played by you guys, and then that thrilling catch by Milind Kumar that turned the game, perhaps. Just talk me through the emotions and how that all felt.
Yeah, that was a weird game because we were on top and then we weren't on top, and then I think we were cruising, and then the ball started reversing a little bit and it got a little bit tough, and obviously they got quality bowlers there. But then to hit a ball to get into a super over is quite surreal. Like you don't get that every day. So it was a bittersweet moment. I think the coach looked at me. I was a bit disappointed because I'm like, we should have finished that game. But then going into super over and the way Saurabh's been bowling, it was fantastic. And anytime you get to be a full member in a World Cup, it's fantastic. It was a weird one for us because it was almost like we should have won. Then oh my God, we got to super over, and then we're like, and then once the 2 boys batted there, and we got 19. I thought we were pretty comfortable. As long as we got our first 2 balls right, I think we were pretty good. So that was a surreal moment. It took a while to just sort of take it all in, but it was unbelievable.
Did you sense a real change in mood in the country? I mean, because suddenly USA Cricket was front page headline. Suddenly CNN were talking about it. Suddenly the USA and cricket was something that I guess had the large parts of the nation waking up, and big crowds suddenly appearing in New York to support you.
Yeah, I think from the outside you'd always say after the Pakistan game, because obviously the size of the team and it's a full member, but I thought it really changed for us in that first game where I think we were pretty behind the game when we were batting, and then Jonesy played a blinder. That really set the tone, because regardless of what team you're playing, to play at a stage like that, to win a game like that, I think that's what really got us fired up. And then obviously the Pakistan game, you get all the followers from around the world. And then we knew when we were playing India that there's always going to be a packed stadium regardless where you play. And that was probably, I played a few games, but that was probably the most fun I had on a cricket field. Just you're getting a full house every time. I would love to see how it is with England. I lived in England for a bit in the Barmy Army, but for now, India, playing against them in New York was quality.
It was an incredible atmosphere. There were loads of USA supporters out there as well. And you guys getting to face Jasprit Bumrah. Like, he is the toughest bowler to face in the world. And yet you guys acquitted yourselves really well. I mean, you weren't far away from getting really close into that game. 5-run penalty here. One bad, well, not bad over, but one over that went for a few. You ran them really tight.
Yeah, I think where we went behind was I think myself and Corey were batting really well, and I think if we batted a little bit longer, because for guys coming in, that wicket was really tough to just go and get runs. So we fell a little bit behind there, and the rest, obviously they had time, but we had them for a bit. We didn't take all their chances, and that's, if you're playing a team like India, you got to take all your chances. But I think the importance is, like, we were in the game till the very end, and that's you as a team and first time playing a World Cup with some of the guys, you got to take a lot out of that. So I think we've done a tremendous job.
Now you've had a big blow, which was Monank Patel, who starred well at the beginning of the tournament, and he's been missing quite a few games, and that's a strong anchor for you at the top of the order. How much of a blow has that been? He's your captain as well.
Yeah, obviously you don't want to see that. You don't want to see anyone get injured, but I think part of being a good team is you try to fill in the best you can. Obviously, no one wants to be injured. It's just how it goes sometimes. But I thought we still fought pretty well. But definitely, obviously, he's a captain and top of the order. He was batting well, so obviously a big miss. But that's part of sport. You guys get injuries. We just got to be positive and rally around it.
Let me just take you back to the very first game. You're playing against Canada. The reason I mention this is not just because it was a great game, but we all know you made your debut for Canada. You were the youngest man to make an ODI debut when you were just 15 years old. Did that feel sort of strange, turning out against Canada in the opening game of a World Cup?
Yeah, it would have been stranger if we did. We played a series against them, I think, a month earlier, and that was pretty strange because my buddies, and I'm like going out in blue. And I think never in my life I would have said, playing for the U.S., but that's just how life goes. And then playing in the World Cup, obviously, you hear the Canadian national anthem. I'm born in Toronto. Obviously, you get like a bittersweet feeling, but I made a move here to the U.S. and I'm enjoying it like since I moved, and obviously we're playing well, and when you're winning, it's always a little bit more fun. So I'm having fun. Obviously, it's bittersweet, but that's how it is.
One game to go, really, realistically, and absolutely nothing to lose. This, I think, is the first time that the USA has officially played an official England team, certainly in a World Cup. Give me an idea of how much you guys are looking forward to that.
Yeah, you don't get to play World Cup games that often, so regardless if there's a chance for us to qualify, there's no chance for us to qualify. I think the guys are going to come in and give it their best shot. You're on a global stage, so if you do well, another win here, that you'll sort of make the tournament even better for us. But obviously, we know England, they won it last time, right? I should probably know that. So they're probably one of the top teams, and they're peaking at the right time, so obviously it's going to be a tough game. But I'm really looking forward to it. I lived in England for 6-7 years. I went to school there, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Whereabouts was that?
I did my A-levels at Repton, so that was just outside Derby, right? It's been a while. And then I went to Loughborough, and I played for the MCCU there. Enjoyed my time there. Obviously, the sort of visa stuff's real tough to stay there but I had a great time. I went right after the World Cup. I played in 2011, so I did my A-levels at Repton. I have some of my best friends there, so I had a great time.
So you'd have played first-class cricket there with the UCCE program?
Yeah. So at that time, it was still the MCCU, so we got a couple games every year, and it was obviously a great experience. But red ball in April is always a little bit different, but it was good fun.
in this World Cup, it's full of experiences, and they must have come at you thick and fast. It's a tricky question, but is there just one moment, one shot, one ball, one just sensation that's happened in this World Cup that's going to live with you?
Yeah, I'd probably say the last ball of the Pakistan game getting into the Super Over. I wish I was a bit more pumped up when I did it, because obviously I thought we should have finished it maybe with a few balls to spare, but you don't get very many opportunities where you get to hit a boundary off the last ball to tie a game or win the game, and obviously against a team like that and against a bowler like that, I think it's pretty special.
Lastly, the legacy of this World Cup for the United States, because you've now played a lot of your cricket in North America, in Canada and the USA. USA have now qualified for the next Super 8s. You're there, you don't have to worry. Or at least, sorry, you qualified for the next tournament.
Yeah.
That must be thrilling, but it's also indicative of what's happening in North American cricket. Can you sort of give our listeners at home a flavour of just the growth and the potential for cricket out here in North America?
Yeah, I think you have obviously the World Cup that's happening now, so that's gauging a lot of attention. It's going to be followed by the MLC, which I think it did well last year, and there's even more games now. And then I think it's really important for us that we have a good sort of period between the World Cups. It's not just about playing World Cups, and for us is hopefully the way we played and the efforts we put out, maybe there's top teams that want to play series. I know teams always go to the West Indies for series, and it's not a long trip away, so hopefully we get more quality cricket. I think that's what we lack. We lack quality cricket all the time, because sometimes it gets really hard to get switched on for sort of like a World Cup. You're playing, for example, you're playing against India, but you play against India once every 2 years. It's not the easiest, but it's been huge. You get a huge following, and I think that's what it's all about. You try to get it as popular as possible. It's a great place, the U.S., to get sport popular. I think it's the amount of people that are here, how much they're into sport, the amount of money that's here. So hopefully it just grows from here. Like for us, this is not the World Cup's an amazing thing, and we played really well, but we're hoping that this is a stepping stone for even better things, and this is not the top of it. So,
Nitish Kumar, thank you so much for joining us. Cheers.
Thank you for having me.
So there's Nitish Kumar chatting. He's seen a lot of North American cricket, and a man who has seen probably even more than Nitish, Peter Delapenna, is alongside me. This is the last time we're going to see the USA in this tournament. Let's make no bones about it. It's the last chance saloon. They are in it, and they are not coming out of it. They're going to play against England tomorrow, and this is our chance really to reflect not just on the team, a little bit on that maybe, and how well they performed, but on the spectacle, what USA have brought to this World Cup. It was a risk for the ICC to bring in a jointly hosted World Cup. We've seen some terrific games of cricket at New York, really well attended. Peter, has it gone as well as you expected? Are there things you wish had been slightly different? Do you see it as really advancing the cause of USA cricket?
Well, if I think back to opening night and the whole opening week and the build-up to the USA-Canada match, it was kind of a very sleepy start. There was a little bit of a slumber in the U.S. community, and it took until the Pakistan win 6 days later for people to really wake up. I think people around the world who'd be following the World Cup would think, oh, Aaron Jones's innings brought the country to life. Not so much the case. It was really the Pakistan win, and ironically, it was a win that happened in front of a half-empty stadium. It was so hot that day in Texas that most of the fans didn't want to stick around to see the finish, which is quite sad when you think about it. But if you go 20 years into the future, you'll probably have 60,000, 100,000 fans will say, I was there when Sarv Netravalkar bowled that super over. And that is the impact that result had. After the match ended, suddenly there was an explosion of not just media attention, but fandom, that by the time you got to New York and in Florida and even here, you've got lifelong USA fans. Where have they been all this time? They're out supporting USA. It's incredible to see all the flags waving, the stars and stripes, and the support and the media attention. There's way more people in the media box who are from the USA than there were before that USA-Pakistan match, so it has had a significant impact in a lot of areas.
Greg from GQ, he's been over, hasn't he? He's come over from the USA, so there is more and more attention. And look, I think the standout moment for me was yesterday in the Caribbean, playing against the West Indies, and the whole crowd was chanting USA, USA, USA. And it was one of my favourite moments, actually.
It was mine. It was amazing being in that ground yesterday the feel of it, the atmosphere of it, and the fact that there was a sizable USA presence. There were flags being waved, and I know it must feel weird for you, Peter, because you've been ploughing not quite a lone furrow, but nearly a lone furrow, trying to tell people USA cricket is real, there's something out there. I guess the moment when it really sunk in for me was in New York, when we saw Bangladesh play against South Africa. 24,000 people there. I mean, I've been to Bangladesh, South Africa games away from the USA. Not in England, they do fill out, but in other parts of the world. And you don't get it half full. It was rocking, it was loud, it was bubbly. This is like telling people, I think, isn't it, that we're now into a second generation of the diaspora, that the USA has now got an established cricket-loving populace out there that can sustain this great game and take it on to greater heights.
Well, that opener, you might call that the main course in terms of seeing what the diaspora is possible of doing in terms of filling up seats in the ground. The appetizer was a couple days earlier in Texas when Nepal played in front of 7,000 people. I think that opened up a lot of eyes, where nobody expected that match to be a sellout for an associate team that's not the co-host. And suddenly Nepal, there was a sea of blue, Nepal chants going around the ground. And then you get to New York, you have 24,000 people for the Bangladesh match. And another litmus test for me is the USA-India match. You got back earlier to the India-Ireland match in New York, and there were only about 18,000 people. Flash forward to the USA-India match, and you had 31,000 people there that day. One of the things that I've always knocked about USA is the fact that, yeah, you'll get teams and matches where the opposition will be supported, but who's there supporting USA? And when you went to the USA-India match, that still is the second largest attendance for the tournament. So to see USA, and it wasn't just India fans, it was USA being supported that day, that was incredible to see.
I got to sort of cut you short because there's a marching band going past now. There's a very severe-looking man with a rod out in front, wearing a sash and a jacket, and a drum band. They're a mature bunch. They're not the youngest. Sort of like Barbadian Morris dancers, you might say. A lot of medals on show, berets, traditional dress. I don't know if you can hear all that. If you can't, then you're deaf. It's quite the thing, and they're marching in perfect time. Absolutely perfect time, Al.
Yeah, they are indeed. It's good, isn't it? I don't know where they're going to go because there is a barrier in front of them. They're just going to go up and down this road. They're all going to turn around and again, but they are all in perfect time, aren't they? The drums going. There's different sort of outfits. We feel like we've got the important people at the front. They've got the proper suits on, haven't they? And then the others at the back with the cymbals.
Would it be fair to say it's not a young man's game?
It's definitely not a young man's game, is it? You could probably get yourself involved, Dan.
Cheeky! Outrageous. Well, I think it's time we wrapped up, really. It's been a wonderful experience being out here in Bridgetown, in Hero Square. But we've got one more big game to do, Al. England against the USA in Bridgetown. If we get anything like the atmosphere we had yesterday, England have got to win. They've got to win by, probably not big, just by a little bit. If they manage to do that, and if the West Indies beat South Africa, this island is going to go crazy.
It is indeed, and we so want the West Indies to go through. It's a home World Cup. I'd love to see them in the semi-finals, but for England, as you say, they've just got to get over the line on Sunday against the team that they should get over the line against as well.
Peter, last thoughts on the USA?
Just the fact that we're in Barbados talking about USA instead of having our last thoughts in Florida or New York about USA sums up everything about what they've achieved in this tournament.